So are you from Babylon? Are you from Mesopotamia? No? Then shut the fuck up, because you're culturally appropriating. Do you have a Korean phone in your hand? Yeah. Guess what? That's culturally appropriating. Are those Italian jeans? Culturally appropriating.
Yeah.
Who made your sneakers? Culturally appropriating is one of the dumbest fucking things, because that's what cities are. They're melting pots of awesome cultures.
What happens when the most influential podcaster in the world takes a stand against woke culture? Joe Rogan isn't just talking, he's ripping apart the absurdities. Are you ready to hear why the woke agenda is crumbling under its weight? If you're ready for more hard-hitting, unfiltered takes on woke culture, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got more of the boldest, most controversial conversations coming your way, and you won't want to miss a single one.
I mean, I think propaganda affects everyone, and I think Canadian propaganda is a little more tightened down and controlled. What they did with the truckers, like, for example, like the way Trudeau just openly labeled them as racist and misogynist. And then when people were donating to this trucker movement, when they were trying to, have this protest, they closed down people's bank accounts.
Let's start by looking at these remarkable instances. In one of his more easygoing chats, Joe Rogan and his guest Mike Barker explore how high school students are increasingly rejecting woke culture. Rogan focuses on tales from the front lines of high schools, where kids openly scorn and distance themselves from the awakened worldview that had gained root in universities and spread to younger generations.
That woke shit's out the window. That word retard comes flying out of these kids' mouths. They're bringing that back strong.
Yeah.
They are bringing that back strong.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that woke thing, it got into college, and then the high school kids, the ones coming up now, they are rejecting it.
Why are kids today turning their backs on the woke indoctrination? Is it rebellion or the awakening of a generation that's fed up with the hypocrisy? Rogan emphasized how these youngsters, who were up in a politically correct environment, are rebelling by reintroducing unacceptable language and behaviors. Mike Barker, who recounted anecdotes from his own family, described how his youngest kid returned from school perplexed by the strict woke rules. This prompted Rogan to investigate whether children who work hard in sports and appreciate devotion are more likely to have conservative beliefs. Rogan and Barker highlighted a worrying trend in which children engage in extreme kinds of identity politics, such as thinking they are distinct species. Rogan parodied this by remarking, "You're not a cat just because you have ears on." How would you respond if a youngster in your life claimed to be something they plainly aren't?
A lot of people that work hard at sports, people that value hard work, and people that value hard work tend to be more conservative and less inclined to indulge people on their mental illness. Oh, you're a cat? No, you're not. You have cat ears on. They don't even look like a cat. You don't even have a good costume on. You're not tricking people in the dark. Okay?
While some episodes are lighthearted, others become extremely somber. During a heated conversation with guest Flint Diebel, Joe found himself supporting Graham Hancock, who was also on the program. Flint criticized Hancock's views, accusing him of propagating falsehoods about Nazi archaeology and Atlantis.
Listen to him, and they didn't take the data, and they did dismiss him, and publicly they still did all those things that you're trying to obfuscate.
Rogan was not having it. He called out Flint for his biased attack on free speech, reminding everyone that woke cancel culture doesn't stop at silencing ideas. It destroys them. And if that doesn't scare you, it should. Have you ever witnessed someone's views discarded harshly because they did not fit into the dominant narrative? How would you handle the situation if you were Rogan? Rogan's anger with the woke intellectuals was obvious as he delved into some organization's proclivity to shut off alternative ideas. This was one of those occasions when the show devolved into an ideological fight. Next up, Rogan takes a wrecking ball to the absurdity of cultural appropriation with comedian Greg Fitzsimmons.
They're saying that hoop earrings are cultural appropriation.
No.
Girls aren't allowed to wear hoop earrings.
Really?
Cultural appropriation.
Damn.
Do you know how fucking privileged you have to be? Like how soft, look at that, hoop earrings criticizes cultural appropriation. Do you know how soft you have to be to give into that? To give into that, and how fucking dumb you have to be to say that.
And trust me, It's a conversation you don't want to miss. Rogan remembered a ludicrous incident in which white females were chastised for wearing hoop earrings, a fashion element that some said was exclusive to Latina culture. Rogan cited this as an example of how awakened culture drives acquiescence in ways that often defy rationality. Have you ever been compelled to modify your behavior because society demanded it, even if it seemed ridiculous? Fitzsimmons and Rogan both agreed that cities are melting pots where cultures inevitably converge. The hypocrisy, ridiculous. Rogan and Fitzsimmons laughed at how wearing hoop earrings can offend some while being celebrated by others. But the real joke? Woke culture demands one thing, compliance. And if you don't fall in line, you're the enemy.
But it's been removed.
Yeah.
Well, he's a dummy. And that Jeremy Lin guy is a very classy character for the way he answered it. First of all, dreads are not black. They were a sign of people not washing their hair that dates back to the Greeks and the Romans. There's ancient sculptures of Caucasian-looking people with dreadlocks. Dreadlocks were worn by the Vikings. It is not a black thing. Because some black people wear them does not mean it's a black. I mean, the idea that this is a real thing, this cultural appropriation, that people go around pointing at people saying you can't wear your hair a certain way.
Yeah.
This was one of the podcast's lighter moments, but underneath the levity was a serious concern about how far a woke culture should be permitted to influence personal decisions and behaviors.
They're jungle people that only wear giant fucking hoops in their ears.
What I read was Latinas. Latinas are criticizing it and saying it's a part of their culture.
Oh, it's their culture.
Yeah, it's like people
I
are just
thought it was a
picking
black
terms. No,
thing.
black people don't want girls to wear braids. Oh. Cornrows. Can't wear
Really?
cornrows. Yeah, you can wear like regular white people braids. But little skinny braids, that's cultural appropriation.
What about Goldilocks? She
I
was
don't know.
white.
What about golf shirts? Are they allowed to wear golf shirts?
Right.
Former Navy SEAL Dan Crenshaw had a unique viewpoint on Rogan's show. In a talk about transgender rights, Crenshaw and Rogan explored how once liberal organizations have shifted so far to the left that they have alienated even their followers. Rogan noted how feminists who formerly pushed for women's rights now disagree with the transgender movement on subjects such as sports.
Big of a deal this was going to be. At the time, it felt more like an annoyance. It felt more like, okay, I've got to come up with a statement. I'm seeing people really upset about this, but I'm not going to lie to them and tell them that I'm emotionally upset, like I'm emotionally triggered by this. That would be a false reaction on my part. So we crafted, I think, the right statement, which was, listen, like, it's offensive doesn't mean I'm offended. And you don't have to choose to be offended here.
Have you ever supported a cause only to realize later that you no longer agree with it? Crenshaw and Rogan investigated how woke culture has split many formerly cohesive movements, resulting in infighting among progressive organizations. They said that this radicalization had driven many individuals to the political right, since the extremists on the left have become too far-fetched for even moderate liberals to embrace.
No one gets really educated on it. It's not like there's a cursory, examination of this that's given to the American person, like when they sign up to register to vote. It's like, you don't say, okay, before you vote, let's explain to you what's going on, and this is why there's bases here, and this is why we do this. And
Yeah.
I mean, not even as a real simple explanation of these things. It's you just have to go searching for it, or you have to rely on political pundits who usually have a bias one way or the other.
This segment of the program was disturbing because it addressed serious issues about the future of political debate and how woke culture may be leading to further polarization. Joe Rogan has often discussed the concepts of alpha males and beta males, notably questioning their validity in human behavior. He suggests that these labels, while commonly used, are largely pseudoscientific and not supported by evidence in anthropology, biology, or sociology.
Where do you think that started? Because this is like evolutionary biology is pretty much settled on the idea that the reason why is the large hips would indicate that the woman would be easier to give birth. Having large breasts and a large ass would indicate that she has she's fertile, and then she has ample fat storage in the right places if she's going to be pregnant. pregnant and carry children. There's all these like evolutionary biology reasons why people are attracted to certain things, and why a woman would be attracted to a tall, muscular, handsome man, good genetics, very strong and confident, can take care of her. All these things are based on evolutionary biology.
According to Rogan, humans do not fit neatly into a social hierarchy where one person is always dominant, alpha, and another submissive, beta, as seen in animal groups like wolves. Rogan acknowledges that there are confident, athletic, and dominant individuals, as well as more introverted and anxious ones, but he argues that these traits are situational and not fixed.
Let's take away the words.
Yeah.
They're clearly men who are more aggressive and athletic and dominant and more confident, and then men who are introverted and shy and more nervous and anxious. And there's a scale.
A person who might appear as an alpha in one context, e.g., a high school quarterback, might not maintain that status in other environments. Similarly, someone perceived as a beta in one situation could be a leader in another, such as in an intellectual or niche setting. Rogan also critiques the oversimplification of evolutionary psychology used to justify these terms, particularly the notion that women are hardwired to be attracted to alpha males.
True that women are hardwired to be attracted to confident, athletic men.
I don't know if I agree with that. But
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think that women look at like pro athletes and like big, strong, athletic men, and you don't think they're drawn to that for evolutionary reasons?
While many assume that traits like physical fitness and confidence are universally attractive, Rogan challenges the idea that such preferences are rooted purely in evolutionary biology. He believes these perceptions are shaped more by cultural and societal narratives rather than inherent biological instincts. Finally, in a difficult confrontation with comic Adam Conover, Joe Rogan addressed what he considers the current culture's oversensitivity. Conover, renowned for his left-leaning views, attempted to explain that awakened culture was about defending marginalized communities, but Rogan was not persuaded. He objected, claiming that safeguarding sentiments had gone too far and that free expression was being strangled in the process.
I say with it being gay isn't a choice, yeah.
Okay, but if that's who they are, if they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
Because... I'm sorry, can you expand on the question?
It's a simple question. If you say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones.
Mm-hmm.
If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. Like, you don't have, why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child.
Do you believe society has gotten too sensitive? Is there a compromise between protection and censorship? This debate peaked when Rogan questioned Conover whether he thought children should be taught to accept their identities, even if they were confused or dangerous. Conover proposed that it was a kind of self-expression, but Rogan disputed instances of how it leads to deeper problems when children are not properly guided. During the conversation, Rogan emphasized the need for open debate and free speech, even when such arguments may hurt sentiments or question cultural norms.
Doesn't affect the suicide rate. The suicide rate for trans people is very high, post-op and pre-op. Really doesn't get affected by whether or not you treat them.
Well, the operation, one
question could be,
misconception is...
why is that? Is that because they're not accepted by society and we're not more loving? Could it be underlying issues that are causing them to feel this way in the first place? Like, what is it? We don't know, and I'm sure it varies widely.
Joe Rogan has never shied away from contentious themes, and his critiques of woke culture have resulted in some of the most thought-provoking discussions in podcasting. Whether he's criticizing silly identity politics, defending free speech, or challenging the logic of cultural appropriation, Rogan relentlessly criticizes the excesses of a woke culture.
There's nothing wrong with your body, as you grow and mature and develop, you growing out of these ideas. Some will and some won't. And the ones who won't, they always have the option to do something later on in life. But if you do something to hormonally block a child very, very early on, there's no turning back from that.
tired of the woke madness? Do you agree with Rogan that enough is enough, or are you still buying into the narrative? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's spark the most unfiltered, raw debate on YouTube. If this resonated with you, there's a lot more where that came from. Don't just sit on the sidelines, subscribe now and stay tuned for more unfiltered conversations that challenge the woke narrative. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a video.